Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Aha! Okay, yeah. So just like the other image, I love the play of composition, right? So the previous image had really interesting composition, and the colors were a little bit fantastic, right? Because it's not a purely representative of what how we see with our eyes, regularly. And then in this photo, it's a photo of a reflection of a window. And so you can just barely see the window frame. It's like double glass windows, so the reflection is really nice and bright. Outside is super sunny. The sky is blue. There are these white clouds. There's this tree that's got no leaves on it, so this must be spring, I imagine. And it's the reflection of a backyard of sorts, because there's like sort of a railing, like a sort for maybe vine leaves. It's hard to know what you're really looking at, and you can just tell, like, parasols. There's a deck. There are 3 people sit at a table. 4 people, a couple of parasols. It's a nice day. Maybe it's in Ontario. Who knows? I love the fact that you chose it, and it's almost got this Dali-esque, surrealist kind of thing where your brain's like, okay, what am I looking at? This doesn't make sense. It's very colorful. It's very playful. It's alive. It's bright, but it's also got this surreal element to it.
I think
you. Why and what?
Well, I think you've described it really, really well. What I like about it, I mean, I think a lot of people might look at this and go, "What an awful photograph! Like, this is not a photograph of anything."
Nope. This is great.
I do like.
It's great.
What I like about it, sort of at an abstract level or a conceptual level, is there's all these layers in it. So you have the sky layer, you have the cloud layer, you have the window itself layer, and then within the window you've got the layer of the tree and the layer of the umbrellas, as you said. And I like that as an idea because, again, that's how I see life. There are so many layers. No, we don't exist just on a single flat plane, Euclidean plane, or anything like that. Every human has all kinds of layers, and sometimes we show these layers and sometimes these ones. Same kind of thing here. I mean, one can focus on this layer, or you can focus on a different layer. So it's kind of, to me, almost like an interactive photo, because you can choose what you want to focus on, what you want to see.
Like, it's a whole thing of mirrors and windows. So what you've actually done is you made a photograph of a window, and the reality of the photograph is you can tell by the window frame that you can just make it out. But then there's that whole reality of, well, what's actually behind the reflection, and it's hard to tell what's in the room. So I'm a shit host, because what I do is I interrupt my guests. So
it's a great back and forth. Well, this was actually not far from Kitchener-Waterloo, where I am, is another city called Guelph, and Guelph is a beautiful, by Canadian standards, old city. And the best thing, they've kept lots and lots of their beautiful old buildings, whereas Kitchener has, I think, not retained a lot of their architecture.
For the people who don't know Canada, who don't know whatever, Guelph, I haven't been to. Have I? I don't know. Maybe I've been. Do you know the etymology of the name?
A little bit,
because it's the ugliest word if you think about it.
It is.
Guelph. I just walked in the street and stepped in some Guelph.
It doesn't sound like it, but I believe it's actually Italian, and it goes back, to the Reformation, when there was 2 houses in Italy. I mean houses in the sense of dynasties, sort of. There were the Guelphs, and there were the Ghibellines, and one supported the Pope and one didn't support the Pope. I forget which one. And I think there's quite a number of people from Italy in Guelph. And it's this is a bit of a tangent, but it's really strange in Canada how some cities just attract people from one country. Like Thunder Bay, I mentioned that earlier on. Thunder Bay has a tremendous proportion of people from Italy. Why they ended up there, I don't know. Winnipeg,
weird.
Tremendous number of people from Iceland. In fact, there are more people living around Winnipeg and in Manitoba from Iceland, like with Icelandic roots, than there are in Iceland. So, anyways, that was just a little digression there.
That's very
Yeah,
strange. Yeah. So back to the photo, if you
yeah.
like. So why did you choose this one, other than the fact that it's got this amazing visual
Well,
play?
yeah, that idea of layers is really important to me. Like when sometimes I take photographs and they are just like it's a nice image. I don't take a lot of
Hmm.
photographs of I don't know, flowers or things like that, but sometimes it's just so beautiful. I like taking pictures of snow as well. Um,
Hmm.
and other times I take photographs because they are complex in an
Yep.
abstract way, and I like what they say about reality.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did you study?
What did I study? Well, I did my undergraduate at the University of Regina in Saskatchewan. And
Hmm.
then for my master degree and PhD, I went to the University of Toronto.
Ah,
That's where I focused on 16th century, actually 16th century non dramatic English literature. And
huh.
University of Toronto, the downtown campus is also really nice because it has a
Stunning.
number of beautiful old buildings, vine covered. I really
Yep.
enjoyed that. And this was a cafe, actually. This photograph in Guelph.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark, your ex-professor, current professor, you're teaching teachers how to teach.
Yep. Yep.
You've done the long, difficult road of getting a doctoral, doing the doctoral thesis of, which is a very lonely road, right?
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
very, that of the writer.
Hmm.
So I know that there's that in your makeup.
Hmm.
You're a visually oriented person, clearly,
Hmm.
because your photographs just scream it. And so, yeah, so being a teacher or an instructor, either for your children or for your dogs or
Hmm.
for graduates or for other teachers,
Yep.
yeah, is a service.
Hmm.
Okay,
But can I throw one idea in here?
please.
When you mentioned I'm visually oriented, I do like to think that I am, but I also have prosopagnosia, which is face blindness, right?
Okay.
So if we met, or yeah, let's say we met in person, we could talk for 2 hours. Let's say I left, and then we ran into each other in the street. I wouldn't recognize you. I
Ah,
can't remember faces.
wow.
I can only remember faces with great difficulty and with very deliberate kind of piecing together
Right.
somebody's face.
When did you get diagnosed with that? Like, what is all your life?
All my life, but the time that I started to notice it was when I was an undergraduate and I started going to a lot of films, a lot of movies, and so I'd be leaning over to the person I was with. So who is that? And they'd say, "Well,
Mm.
that's the main character."
Oh,
But the main
well.
character had gone off screen and come back dressed in something else, and I wouldn't recognize them.
Huh.
So I knew that there was something odd. And then there was the writer and psychiatrist Oliver Sacks.
Yep.
His best known book is "The Man Who Mistook His Wife
For a hat.
for His Hat."
Yeah.
He wrote about very interesting, curious
Hmm.
neurologically atypical people, and he himself he's passed away now. He had prosopagnosia, and so that's where I first learned that this was an actual thing.
Yeah.
And so I did some research, and yeah, I realized that that's what I have. I mean, it's harmless. I mean,
It's what a great way to describe it. It's harmless. It's not like I go on the street and I want to punch somebody's face. I love it. Now,
yeah,
here, when I was in my 20s, I was run over by a car and I had a very severe brain injury.
yeah,
So after the hospital and after I was, sort of out of the rehab center.
hmm,
My girlfriend and I at the time went to see a movie. Right. So
hmm,
just your story kind of reminded me of mine. So we went to see a movie. And in my case, because I had such a severe brain injury, when I went to go watch the movie, for the first
yeah,
5 minutes, I had like an inability to decode what was on the screen.
yeah,
So the music was way too loud and the light
hmm,
was too bright. And I was like looking at the screen and my brain just could not see what was there.
hmm,
And like we used to have these like illusion, like visual illusion things that you'd stare at it for like these 3D illusions, and then if you stare at it long enough, all of a sudden you could see what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. The stereoscopic things.
Yeah, yeah. So in my case, it was the same similar thing where I was just like, "What's going on?" And she's
Hmm.
like, "Michael Douglas is on the screen." I was just like, "Michael Douglas." So
Hmm.
not what you have at all.
Hmm.
Okay, so as a professor, as a teacher, how does that manifest?
Well, I always would have my students, they'd be sitting at their tables or desks, and I would tell them to make a little name tent and then write their
Ah,
name on it. And so, different kinds
right.
of strategy. Another thing too is I'm really good at recognizing voices.
Okay.
So often somebody will pass me or see me, and there's subtle cues, like they'll raise their eyebrows, and so I'll be thinking,
Hmm.
okay, so this person must know me, and I'll say, oh, hi, how are you doing? And then they'll speak, and I'll go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is Jonathan. You know,
Right. Right.
I mean, if somebody has very noteworthy something, if they have a big beard or something like
Yeah.
that, or hoops in their ears, things like that, that helps. But
Yeah.
if they don't, yeah, it's very. I mean, I was dating my now wife for months before I could recall what she looked like in my head.
Dude, that is the stuff of so you say Borges or do you say Borges or how do you say
I think it's Borges. It's with a G,
Borges?
Borg. Yeah, but
Yeah,
Borges.
Borges. So what you just described of not I don't know if it's Gabriel Garcia Marquez or if it's a Borges sort of a short story, but it's got that feeling to it of like, yeah,
Yeah,
I dated her for a few months before I really got a sense of what if I could actually remember what she looked like.
yeah.
So is it that you oh man, Mark, you it's just like so okay. Yeah, okay, but like you what a trip. Like okay, so for as far as your kids then,
Yep.
how does that manifest for them? How do you explain it to them?
I don't know if I ever did actually sit. I mean, they know the word prosopagnosia and face blindness. I've said that to them, but I don't think I ever sat them down and said, you ought to know this about me. When I'm with somebody long enough, years. I mean, I recognize our kids now, but
Yeah.
what sometimes happens too. Let's say some extended family members on my wife's side. If I'm trying to think of one of her cousins,
Hmm.
an image of someone will come into my head, and I will know that it's not the right person, but I will also know that that person kind of resembles the other person in a way. And often it can be in a really subtle way, like a similar shaped head or something like that. And I, I I'll try and try, and I just can't shake the wrong image. I have to kind of
Hmm.
stop trying.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll answer that question in a different way because, like I say, this is a harmless condition, if that's the right word to have, prosopagnosia. But it is a neurological atypical or an atypical neurology or something like that. But my eldest son, Brandon, he has Asperger's syndrome. And so, we talk about how he is atypical, because I think that's the
Right.
best way of, you know,
Yep.
calling a
That's
spade a
it.
spade. And so I think it's been helpful in that way. And he has such gifts too. I mean,
Hmm.
I think I have some gifts that I wouldn't have if I didn't have prosopagnosia. Like I think some parts of my brain that maybe normally would be devoted to recognizing faces, I use for other things, you know.
Absolutely.
And Brandon is like that too. He's got a tremendous memory for facts and culture.
Yeah.
Loves to learn words in other languages and things like that.
That's fantastic.
And all of our kids, well, I guess every kid, but I think our kids maybe a bit more than others are neurologically atypical. So our daughter
Okay.
Reika is an amazing artist, an amazing visual artist. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.